When did you start getting into drugs?
Young, 13.
Just smoking weed, or what were you on?
Hardcore drugs.
Yeah, because so smoking Skante, that's like meth.
Yeah.
And is that like really common where you're coming from? Because I read about 1 million comments saying that that's what Lefty's doing too. Not to put any smut on anybody's name.
I can't speak on what he's doing, but I mean, it's common in the groups of people that I was with, hanging around with. You know what I mean? But in the main regular society, nah. But see, I live in a world that's not part of the main regular society. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole nother society that a lot of people don't know about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the world that I live in.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
But I'm starting to see that, like, I'm starting to transition into the real world. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm not going to jump on these podcasts and talk about, oh, whoop-de-whoop. Like, nah, homie, you got to think about what you're saying, dog. You know what I mean? Like, that's why, I'm not going to smut nobody up, homie. Like, you know what I'm saying? But how are you not going to have everybody talking about you doing meth when you're going to jump on a podcast like, yeah, I'm doing meth? Like, homie, it's ridiculous, dog.
But is that the kind of shit that's like, is just viewed as like too fucked up that nobody really wants to talk about it? Because a lot of fucking people do coke and very few people will ever discuss it on a podcast.
Yeah,
until it's in past
that's
tense.
Not something that you, yeah, exactly.
You know?
That's not something that you openly, oh yeah, come on, dog. That's like, what type of, you gotta have some type of respect for your morals, like standards, homie. You know what I mean? You can't be up on the fucking podcast talking about you doing drugs. Like, what's up with you?
Because, I realized pretty early on with the podcast shit, because I was doing coke, but I was like, kind of on some regular shit, like, oh, we go out to the bar, we're gonna drink, we're gonna do some coke, whatever. But I realized really quickly that if I mentioned it at all on the podcast, that a huge percentage of the audience is gonna think, oh, he's a cokehead. He's like full blown, does it every day, does it all day. And certain drugs are just like that. Like if you told me that you did heroin once in a while, I mean, they're not gonna hear the once in a while. They're like, oh, he's a heroin addict. Like, yeah. It's just realistically, most people who do heroin, I would assume that they are pretty goddamn addicted to
meth.
it. Yeah.
Same thing with meth. That shit's like that. That's it. If you do meth, you're a tweaker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not a cool drug. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, you're sipping lean or nah, dog. You see the fucking posters of the tweakers, homie. Like, that shit's not. I mean, any drug though, homie. You don't sit there and that's your business, homie. You know what I mean? You do that shit like, I don't know. Especially in prison, you learn how to keep your shit like. You don't go and broadcast what you're doing on the tier, homie. You know what I mean? You go do that shit in your cell, boom, come out and program. You don't fucking. So you learn that shit in there, you should be the same way in here. Out here, I mean. You know what I mean? If you do that shit, you do that shit on your own time, homie. You don't fucking let the whole world know about it, homie. That shit ain't cool.
Yeah, because meth has image issues, because every time that you drive by a fucking homeless encampment or you drive through downtown and you see all these crazy-ass people, it's like, you can't help but think like, oh, I know a large percentage of why they ended up here is because of this exact combination of drugs.
Exactly. But like I said, any drugs, dog. The only thing, weed is like, okay, it's like an open thing, But any other, like drugs, real drugs, if you do that shit, bro, you got to keep that shit under wraps. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, do that shit, be a closet fucking smoker or whatever, but you don't go and broadcast that shit to the world, bro. That shit ain't cool. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Do you think that the fact that you, were able to do so good in school at a young age, and the fact that you're just clearly like more intelligent than the average person, did that come into play with making you a better rapper right away? Because we're not really necessarily used to thinking that these things are like one and the same.
That's definitely like, because like just my level of just understanding and comprehension is like, it definitely gives me an advantage in this rap game. Like, you know what I mean? Okay, like when I'm busted, I read books that are like that, fool. You know what I mean? I'll read a 4,000 page book in like 5 days, 6 days.
4,000, holy shit.
Yeah, for sure. But while you're in jail, you read it all day long. You know what I mean? There's like, you know what I'm saying?
What books had the biggest impact on you?
I don't know. I can't really say that books have impacted me, because real life has impacted me. You know what I mean? I was impacted by real life as a kid, to growing up. So like now things don't really impact me that much. They just, yeah, I read it, I intake it, has a little influence on me, and then that's it. You know, they don't really like, oh, change my life or nothing like that. You know what I mean? But I like historical fiction. You know?
Really?
Yeah, I like historical fiction a lot. Like reading books about Genghis Khan or you know, things like that. That shit's tight. It intrigues me, you know?
Yeah. Same here. I feel like that. Anything regarding history, like that's one thing with me is like I always have to feel like I'm learning something from whatever I watch. I can't really get down with a movie or a book if I just feel like it's just for the pleasure of watching it or enjoying it. Like I have to feel like I'm getting something out of this, and that's one thing I get out of history is I feel like when I'm watching that, I'm kind of like studying how things play out for
or how they were
historical figures and shit.
It trips me out how things were, you know, how the world was. Like, you know, they didn't have this technology, you know, so what did they do and how did they do it? I like to read about shit like that. So yeah, but like I was saying, reading those books, like reading a 4,000 page book is gonna expand your vocabulary majorly, you know what I mean? Compared to if you're reading these little ass books. So with the wide set vocabulary, you're gonna make better songs, or you're gonna say smarter things, you know what I mean? Like, or not even smarter things, you're just gonna make sense, homie. You know what I mean? Your songs are gonna have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You know, they're not just gonna be saying, "Oh, fucking, I'm from here and this and that." Like, nah.
Like the average person in our world knows about what's going on right now. They might watch podcasts, or they listen to music that comes out right now. But it's like the smarter person or the wiser person is gonna go back 20 years and listen to the music that came out before they came out so they could understand how that shit played out. They're going to read about war and read about, you know, what was going on with our country and shit in previous times, because all that stuff is going to, A, make you more interesting as a person right now, and B, it's going to be infused into your content in some way. Like, but then you also kind of run the risk of overdoing it, where if you read a whole book about Genghis Khan, you could put pieces of that into your lyrics, but is it going to go over the head of your audience?
Yeah, that's the.
You have to kind of be able to dumb it down for our audience, you know?
Gang, that's where I dumbed down a lot of my shit just so that I could connect with the audience. You know what I mean? Because like I have songs that I never recorded, but that are just like not written because I don't write, but they're just in my head, where I just show certain homies. Like, you know, when I see certain homies that I know are on that level with me, hey, check this out, fool, and I'll spit that shit for them. They'll be like, damn, that shit's sick.
But why does it stay that way? Why does it not get released?
I mean, because eventually it will. I just don't feel like it's not that, like, you know, it's not that popping. It's not gonna crack for my audience right now. You know what I mean?